everyone, and welcome to a slightly unscheduled episode of Look Out and Shout. And today we are reviewing Mastermind Creations, or MMC Optus Pexus, or IDW Orion Pax, if you will. Now, some people have been getting their figures. I know Alexis has on Transformers the Show, who gave some very good insight into the figure with his review and some great photos in the process. Well done, mate. So today we're going to take a bit more of an in-depth look into the figure and some of the posability, which I'm sure you've heard about, which is incredible. Okay, let's take a look, shall we? And we're not going to do a hard panther on this one because that transformation was actually harder than I was expecting. But yeah, it's not too bad, but getting stuff back into place is very particular. Now, one thing I will show you very quick is the guns that become the stack. One thing it doesn't particularly tell you, it does tell you in the instructions, is the guns have to compress back into smaller guns, and then you clip them together with the handles folded in, of course. And then once you've applied them together, and then it will clip together like so, and you can see I've done it with the black guns, and that is how he looks in his truck mode. It's hard to say if this is supposed to be a truck, as again this wants to come apart a bit. It is a bit particular with how the transformation goes. There's things like the hip skirts have got to rotate up. It's an involved transformation, but it's not the worst transformation, and it's a pretty good Cybertronian vehicle come the end of it. It doesn't roll particularly well, but then I don't think we were really expecting to, plus we're not looking at this vehicle for how it rolls, or this figure for how it rolls. But still, for some comparison, here it is alongside Masterpiece Sideswipe, just to give you a sense of scale. And it looks a pretty decent size for a Cybertronian vehicle. The transformation is actually quite straightforward for the most part. It is fiddly in as much as you've got a lot of work to do, but nothing feels overly challenging. This is what you expect to see from third-party engineering and good engineering. When you get a good figure with this level of posability, it should have an involved transformation because you've got all these parts that move. It shouldn't just be for displaying, it should also be as part of the manoeuvring for transformation as well. It really adds to it, and it doesn't feel too taxing. And here he is. Here is MMC's Optus Pexus, aka IDW Orion Pax. He's obviously quite far away, so let's bring him in a bit closer, shall we? And you can see what it's all about, and it is a very impressive looking figure. If I bring him in right close and then move the camera up, you can see detailing that's going on there. It's a very good representation of the IDW comic character. The paint application is exceptional. It really pops. If even the metallic parts showing the robot forms here, the legs and the in between of the shoulders and the arms, it looks really good, really eye-catching. Not one bit overpowers the other. I think the bit that really stands out to me is the wheels at the back acting as the shoulder blades. I think it's done really well, really blends in from a vehicle into a robot very, very well. Obviously, of course, with this you get the accessories, so if we just move him out of the way, he comes with two guns, which you can fold down, that he can hold in a traditional black ion blaster way. And he also comes with two of the same, but in grey, and they can also tab together. Same thing I've done there. Just depends if you want grey or if you want black. He also comes with two replaceable fingers, which is not really an issue. I've got to say he is of a very good plastic mould, so I wouldn't say there's an issue for breakage, but I know figures with their fingers can break when you get these very small pieces of plastic. And finally he comes with, of course, the matrix, which this matrix does kind of bend as well. It can bend back. There's on like a spring motion to it, and to get it into his chest, which I'll show you later, you can take them apart. Just clips off. That's what will sit in his chest cavity. Beyond that, you get a traditional reformatted card with some nice artwork on it. and some stats on the back. And what is also a nice touch is the instruction manual, but also doubles up as a comic. Once you're through the instructions, you can have a nice little read of an illustrated comic, which is quite cool. Very well received. So if I was to show you all of his articulation, we'd be here all day. So I'm just going to show you some of the basic articulation that you get with the figure. So head can go up and down, left and right, slight little tilt left and right as well. The arms all on friction joints, very stiff friction joints, it has to be said, but that does help with the posability. Some parts can squeak as well. Good elbow bend. The hands are very good. If I bring it in, you might be able to see if I extend it out into shot. All the fingers move, thumb moves as well, but the hands also can fan out, giving a right finger spread. It's quite a good level of articulation there. All knuckles move as well. Same on the other hand, of course. He also has a very excessive tilt. So there's movement at the waist. There is kind of a side-to-side hip motion as well. And then if you come down to the legs, you get not too much on the forward, and okay on the forward. And I don't know if we can move, can't get much back movement. The rear butt flap doesn't want to move, so you don't get much back extents, but the knees are pretty solid in their own right. Again, quite stiff, you have to give it a bit of force, but you get a good level of almost a complete fold. That's pretty decent articulation there. Nice little detailing of this, keeping everything together. As part of the transformation, the hip skirts can move up and down where you want to get a good bit of extension forward. So that's just something that aids you as well. And of course, an ankle tilt and ankle upward. You can actually extend this quite far forward, again, part of the transformation. So yeah, there's obviously so much articulation to this figure that really lets you have some exceptional poses. So just realise as we've been doing this, you can see there's a tiny little gear in the middle there that you can tilt forward and then hold the leg back, and that actually gets you a full split that way. So if you rotate, I don't know if you want to call it the pelvis, it does rotate forward somewhat, and that allows you to get a bit more of an extent. Now I'll just show you as well how to get the matrix in, because they do say in the instructions don't force the chest cavity open from the front because it will break. So to do that you have to sort of untransform him. It's a bit fiddly, but it is doable. So to do so, you unplug his wheels from the back panel and then extend that up, I seem to recall. And then also it then says to move the arms out of the way to give you a better movement. You then have to push, he says, these back. They should be back anyway. And then that should enable you. And after a bit of adjusting, it does fit in there. It is a bit fiddly and it does want to jump around, but once it's in, it's not going anywhere. And then of course you can close up and it's there under lock and key. Now to get in some comparison shots, here he is alongside his IDW counterpart, which is Generation Toys Rebel, aka Prowl, as they are seen in the comics together. And even though these are two separate companies, I think this is really good. It's a really good representation of the comics. They suit each other really well for this pre-war Cybertron era. And for something a bit different but similar, here he is alongside Magic Square's Masterpiece Scale Optimus Prime. And I'll move the camera up so you can see this one. It's quite a different contrast of the two. But I think these two are some of the best articulated figures you'll ever find on the Transformers market. and they look very good together, even though they're completely different ends of the spectrum. One thing that it does show you in the instructions is if you throw these mud flaps up, you can then get the two guns and you can put them on his shoulders and have them as shoulder cannons. Now, I can't particularly remember Prime having them, or Pax having them as shoulder mounted cannons in the comics, but I could be wrong. And there you go, they do just clip on the inside, but you can clip them on the outside as well. Just makes his shoulders look extra beefy. And of course you could just give him everything and go full gunslinger. And here you can see just some of the poses that you can put him in. And obviously people will have found loads of great poses and taken their own great photographs. These are just some available. And it really does give you that playability, and the fact that if you want to take photographs of Transformers, this one really lends itself to that. It's almost your own mannequin for Transformers photography. And there's just so much you can do with it. And here it is, just contrasting with the likes of IDW Megatron and IDW Prowl. It really adds a lot. The plus points of this figure is obviously the articulation. The level of movement you get out of this toy is exceptional, and I didn't think anything could beat the Magic Square Masterpiece Scale Optimus Prime, which I've got, and I love that figure for my G1 Prime, and that's got crazy articulation in its own right, but this beats it. I just love how it is presented. It's straight out of the IDW comic book. It is that Super Cop Orion Pax, exactly how you'd expect to see. Things like the chest cavity opening, the matrix, the fact that the matrix can bend to allow you to get it into the chest cavity, it is just a really good representation of a very niche figure. And what I'll say is there's no such thing as a perfect figure. I always think if you look at any representation of any toy at any point, there's always something, however small, that you want just a little bit better. For example, I absolutely love the figure. It's a shame it's not got rubber tyres. You know I like rubber tyres. It could do with some die cast to it. It's just made out of plastic. Some very good plastic, I will say that, but there is no die cast. So there are these little things that you would like. But weighing up all of the positives and weighing up all of the negatives, you've got to think, how does this affect your overall score of it? So based on all of that, what's my verdict? It's wonderful. 5 Rodimus Star Badges out of 5. Finally, a figure that deserves it. I just was absolutely blown away with its plus points. You know, yes, okay, it might not be the perfect figure. It might not have everything I like. But what it does have, it does exceptionally well. And I'm more than happy to have this in my collection. I would recommend you have it in yours too, especially if you like the IDW range. And there you go. That is my review on MMC's Optus Pexus, aka IDW Orion Pax. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to tap that like button and smash the subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one.